Greetings, Dragon Ball fans, and welcome to part 4 of Chandler Kinney's suggested What If Grandpa Gohan Got Through to Goku, where we follow the disappointing culinary adventures of the lost little Saiyan, still known as Kakarot, as he pursues greatness and, ultimately, the respect of his parents and the people that he mistakenly believes cast him out into the void because he was too weak. Kakarot has traveled far and helped many while on the quest he was given by his master Gohan. He had been tasked with aiding Bulma in finding the remaining Dragon Balls to wish for some strawberries, or maybe a boyfriend, then to return the 4-star ball to secure the mighty wish-granting dragon against any malintent. Having failed at not only the quest, at least for another year, but also breaking the promise he had made to his master to never look at the moon, Kakarot found refuge and much-needed distraction under the tutelage of his own master's master. I guess that would be his grandmaster of a sort? Muten Roshi. After training for almost a year, Kakarot and his new training partner, if not exactly friend, Krillin, set off for the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament to prove themselves against the best this planet has to offer. We left off with Kakarot facing down the mysterious rabbit-faced man, along with a full moon looming slowly into view over the arena grounds. Also, remember to check out Damon's What If Goku Remembered the Saiyans for a slightly different take on this story. There should be a link in the description. As Kakarot looks around a bit for his missing opponent, while careful to avoid that moon, his mind is racing. Just who is this guy? He knows the floating punches, the afterimage too. That hit on Namu had been perfect in its execution. When the man appears again, right behind him, Kakarot freezes. There are 2 reasons for this. He can now smell the man's breath over his pungently sweet-smelling cologne, and it is hauntingly familiar. The other reason is his tail. The man has a firm grasp of his tail. Kakarot literally cannot move. He can't turn, he can't dodge, but from the edge of his equally paralyzed mind, he can see the impossibly bright glow of a Kamehameha behind him as it is pressed firmly into the armor on his back. After recovering, Kakarot picks himself up from the rubble of the arena wall and looks back at the man, careful to avoid the glow of the moon looming large overhead. He has lost his match to the rabbit-faced man, but he's not exactly mad about it. His feelings of confusion and irritation are joined now by something else. Exhilaration? Yes, it's excitement. His opponent was truly exceptional. He had certainly mastered those very much non-trivial techniques like air punching, the afterimage, and, most amazingly of all, the Kamehameha wave, that is the signature move of the Kame-Sennin school. He's not just another student of Muten Roshi's, is he? No. Kakarot stares up at the rabbit-faced man, searching, feeling the no longer guarded presence of the person who is now holding his hand out to help pull him back up to his feet. "Master!" Kakarot shouts, and bows low, like the Ox King did to Roshi back at Frypan Mountain. The rabbit man says, and takes a cloth out to wipe the sweat-smeared paint from his face. "Hey, kiddo." Kakarot barely has time to collect himself, though, as the announcer calls out the finalists, Rabbit Man and Jackie Chun. As his master Gohan turns away, Kakarot calls after him that he thinks Jackie Chun is not what he appears. His fight with Krillin was also so familiar, but Master Gohan just smiles and nods. He knows exactly who he will face in this final. Their battle is, of course, as epic as ever. Jackie Chun even invokes his max power mode, but Master Gohan can by now see the flaw in that technique and effortlessly dodges the powerful but sluggish blows coming his way. He is eventually defeated, though, as he well expected to be. He's not the great Muten Roshi for nothing, you know. Kakarot watched their match between student and master, and for a long time he forgets everything else to enjoy the spectacle and maybe take some notes for himself. Now at the dinner table, though, when his master Gohan joins them, it is as if someone's grabbing at his tail again. He is so nervous, in fact, that he can barely even poke at his food, despite the protestations of his stomach. So Master Gohan is forced to break the ice. "So, my boy, you have come a long way, I see," he says, smiling down at Kakarot. "My own master's unique take on training was just what you needed, I think." Kakarot sees the genuine smile on his master's face, and is about to smile back, but then he remembers. "Master, I have failed," he says, staring at his plate. "The ball is gone, and," his voice almost a squeak, "I broke my promise to you." Master Gohan pats him on the back and says, "Ah, yes. Bulma told me about the ball when she came to inspect your pod." He then smiles ruefully at the girl. "She was well, I heard words I'd never have thought a woman would utter. She was, if you'll pardon the joke, over the moon." Kakarot is all set to take offense at this when there is another pat on his back, and Master Gohan continues. "She told me about what happened, my boy." His tone turns soft. "It wasn't exactly your fault, was it?" In an uncharacteristically small voice, Kakarot says, "But it was my fault. I didn't want to lose. I could have closed my eyes and accepted my defeat because I was weak." Then, almost shouting, "But I didn't. I looked." He moves to leave the table, but Master Gohan takes his arm. "No, son, you tried your best. Bulma told me. You stopped, almost. Turned away, at least. And besides, it all worked out, didn't it?" He pats the boy on the back again and motions to the food. "Now come, sit and eat. You must be starving." Kakarot smiles at his master's forgiveness, and his stomach gurgles in anticipation as the old man continues. "I want to hear all your stories." After the meal is over and they retire for the evening, Bulma reminds Kakarot that a year is almost up, so he can go and find the 4-star ball soon. Kakarot then hands Bulma back the armor. It is cracked and torn a bit where Master Gohan's Kamehameha had struck point blank, but she says that she'd already analyzed it every way she knew how, and she could probably make some more, with a bit of time, so he should keep it for now. Even when broken, that stuff is incredibly tough. Kakarot happily agrees to this, and actually has some minor modifications to request for any new armor she might make for him. When he says he will leave the next day to search for the Dragon Ball, his Master Gohan says that he wants to accompany him. He'd spent so many years in and around only Mount Paozu, but now, having been invited to the tournament by his own Master Roshi, he finds his foot is itchy, and he wants to explore the world a bit once again. Kakarot is of course over the moon. No, he's happy to have his master's company. Bulma is kind enough to give them another small flyer, so they head off, with Kakarot at the controls. Master Gohan can't help but smile. He's learning so much. They proceed to plow through Colonel Silver in blissful ignorance. Then they head on towards Muscle Tower, where they land at Jingle Village and are welcomed by the locals, who fill them in on their village's plight. It seems the evil Red Ribbon Army is making life fairly complicated for them. When the guards inevitably attack, both Master Gohan and Kakarot are quick to dispatch them. The villagers, though, are then equal parts thankful and worried. If those guards don't report back, they might send more men in. Kakarot and his master talk for a while, and then come up with a plan. Master Gohan will stay here and defend the village, while Kakarot, in his slightly broken but still very advanced body armor, will, disable the Muscle Tower encampment and any equipment he finds on the way. He bulldozes through the army and the first layer of the tower. Full Metal Jacket isn't so much a bulldoze as a wrecking ball. Oh, sorry, that's a bit ambiguous. Just to be clear, Kakarot is the wrecking ball, and Full Metal Jacket's body parts are now scattered across the snow. A robot fighting man? Neat. Sergeant Major Purple, aka Ninja Murasaki, is actually quite interesting, at least to Kakarot. He has some novel, if not overly effective methods of concealment. Kakarot does of course have a sense of people around him, and has a very keen sense of smell as well. So, yeah, not so useful here. When he goes to release Ater, just like Vegeta and Cell, Kakarot lets him. He's kinda bored with the man, and wants to see if he has anything else up his sleeve. Ater, of course, has no interest in fighting, but as Murasaki pulls out the remote, the power pole extends, smashing him through the tower wall out into the snow. Kakarot asks Ater what he wants to do, while he smashes the remote. Of course he can't sense any fighting presence at all from Ater, so assumes he's just very weak. And, as with the Carrot Master, Kakarot is not a fan of people who try to use the weak as leverage in a battle. It's shameful, an affront to his own slightly evolved sense of Saiyan pride. Also, that Full Metal Jacket guy had kind of caught him off guard, so he hadn't had time to have a good look or maybe feel of the man before he went to pieces. Ader then says that he will show Kakarot to the General's office so they can rescue the town mayor, which is Kakarot's mission here anyway. And General White here tries not to be as much of a pushover as the rest of them. After a quick reaction with the power pole saves them from falling into the blob fight, the General just starts shooting. While most shots miss, a few find their mark, but do little damage to both Kakarot and to Ader as he moves in the way to protect his friend. They return to Jingle Village with the mare, but there is now a bullet lodged in the Dragon radar's screen. So that's why that last hit didn't even sting. Jingle Village is more than happy to give them the fuel they need, and they fly off to West City to ask Bulma to help fix the radar. Kakarot has of course been to Capsule Corp already, so flies straight there. Bulma is happy to see them, of course, and while not thrilled that her radar got shot, she can fix it without much issue. She also has some new armor already made. It's only a prototype, mind you, but it's got those 2 things Kakarot had asked for. Well, 3 things actually. While he hadn't asked for it, she had been tinkering with her shrink watch, so, well, for a laugh, she included it in the armor. The armor itself appears quite different from her idea of traditional Saiyan wear. Gone are the clunky shoulder and skirt flaps. Instead, it's a cross between the Cell-era armor she would have made for the time chamber training and something with a bit more overall coverage. Most notably, there are shin, thigh, upper, and forearm pads that serve multiple functions, and some elements of his normal gi are built right in. The other modification, as requested, is also ready to go. Mostly. The mass boosters work, but they make the armor a bit stiff, depending on how high you set it. Kakarot is fine with that, though. In fact, that's even better. The Turtle Hermit's training had made a point of weighted workouts, so, well, if everything weighs more, and it's harder to move about on top of that, well, that's just perfect. So she mentioned the weight can be increased. Yep, well, kind of. You can activate more or less of them. Oh yeah, the weight increase also increases the strength of the activated areas, something that might come in handy, knowing Kakarot. She shows him the sliding scale settings and the shrink button, and he plods out to meet the patiently waiting Master Gohan, smiling ear to ear as he strains against both the stiff material and in moving the sheer mass of it. Bulma does choose to join them in the flyer, and they head off towards their next blip to see if it's their ball. Their hunt still takes them to Roshi's island for the submarine, and while he initially refuses, it being his only working transport that doesn't cause him to regurgitate his lunch, he then sees Master Gohan staring at him blankly. If he lends them the boat, Gohan will hang out on the island, and they can chat more about about the good old days. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, Roshi does not get his shrink watch, not that it lasted more than a couple of pages anyway. After Kakarot and company depart in the submarine, some Red Ribbon goons show up and start making demands. Luckily for everyone, but the Red Ribbon, Master Gohan is by now very well acquainted with them, so yeah, not gonna Oh, sorry, my foot was making so much noise kicking your plane in half. Oh, what did you want again? Down under the waves, that whole robot pirate thing happens, and General Blue fares no better. A bit worse, actually. His telekinetic trap is interesting, but the mouse is still there, and we all know that this Kakarot is, well, he's not exactly unforgiving. He just likes to use his power more, powerfully. I think we can add this guy to the pile, right next to the Ozaru Smushed Show and the tasty pterodactyl. They have to swim ashore this time, though, still lacking the Nimbus, and with no blonde launch to nick it, while Bulma does get to keep her diamond, she's done with adventuring for now. Almost being crushed can really put things into perspective. Also, with General Blue dead and buried under the seamount, there is no Arale to be seen. Seeing his master having so much fun with his master in turn, Kakarot takes out the smaller flyer that Bulma gave him so long ago and heads off towards Colonel Yellow and Karn's tower all by himself. As that fuzzy-faced commander makes off with little Upa, threatening all manner of nasty things for their Dragonball, someone else is watching from higher up. Again, Kakarot feels that twinge of inner shame at the sight of someone using the weak as a shield, or in this case, leverage. I'll see if I can find that torpedo bomber sound as Kakarot banks and dives towards the dog's plane. Now with only one wing, the oddly old-fashioned looking plane rolls out of control, and Upa goes flying. Fortunately, this was not entirely unplanned, and Kakarot grabs the kid in the air and kicks downward, slowing their descent. The rest of the vehicles are not so lucky. When Bora shows him what that dog guy was after, Kakarot is thrilled. It's the 4-star ball. Great! Job done. Time to head home. Yeah, not yet. A massive marble column crashes into the ground, and the elderly gentleman on it politely asks for the ball. Oh, okay, so not exactly politely. Tao Pai Pai demands the ball. All of them. Bora, of course, goes to fight him, but Kakarot's not having it. He feels a bit strong. He wants to fight him. What was once a fight in Tao's favor is far less so. He can barely defend against the boy's relentless strikes, let alone the air pressure of his floating feet and palms. The Dodonpa strikes a surprised Kakarot square in the chest, knocking him back and into the base of the tower. If I was a betting man, I'd say Korin felt that. Quite pleased with himself, Tao walks over to Bora and Upa, but as he starts to ask for the satchel, he spots movement. The boy is up and poking at a slightly scorched patch on his bulky armor, inspecting what passes for damage around these parts. He then looks up at Tao, smiling as he squares his feet and cups his hands. With that assassin guy now off over the horizon somewhere, Kakarot asks if he can have his master's ball, and Bora sees no reason to refuse the boy who casts white fire from his fingers. Seeking something else new to learn, Kakarot asks about the tower that he had spotted from the air, but had still not seen the top of, and he learns about the legend of the legend of Korin. He could use the challenge after that Tao guy, so why not give it a go? It's not like he needs to find any more balls, right? Halfway up the tower, he finds himself struggling for grip and falls down. Okay, so maybe turn the armor weights down a bit. He reaches the top and meets the cat hermit, Korin. After a bit of back and forth, Korin has a good handle on the boy and his motives. He wants to live up not only to his parents' expectations, but also those of the kindly old master Gohan. Also, defending the Dragon Balls against evil is a lofty goal, and certainly worthy of his training. Kakarot still struggles to catch the cat, being tired and hungry, so Korin tosses him his first senzu. I mean, they taste pretty terrible, but wow, they do just what the label says. Now fully fed and recharged, he sets out to catch the cat in earnest. After another round of failing, they get to talking about Master Roshi, and as Korin reminisces, Kakarot has a thought. He's not been entirely honest with the cat, has he? He taps on his armband, and there is a noticeable shrinkage of all the pads on his armor. Korin barely has time to notice the sheepish smile on the boy's face before the flask and his cane are torn from his hands. Also, the hand railing has a chunk missing where the boy had passed through, somewhat unaccustomed to being so free. And as that armored bombshell plummets groundward, we will bring Part 4 to a close. Korin is busy staring at the back of Kakarot's now much better-fitting clothing, with a definite sense of unease as the boy falls, flask and staff in hand. Will Kakarot survive the fall? What might the Water of the Gods bestow upon him? Huh? Oh, yeah, nothing. The point was the training, wasn't it? Training he apparently did in his spiffy new, weighted Saiyan armor. So, what do you think he should do now? Keep searching for the balls, or be happy with securing his 4-star ball? Leave a comment below, since YouTube has apparently decided to discontinue the polls, and we will find out next time on Dragon Ball. What if Grandpa Gohan got through to Goku?